Everyone laughed. When the Chinese billionaire mocked the black waiter until he replied in Chinese. The ballroom of Shanghai's most exclusive hotel glittered like a palace of wealth. Crystal chandeliers rained light down upon marble floors, and the air carried the faint notes of a grand piano. It was the night of the International Investors' Gala, where billionaires and dignitaries gathered to toast their power, their fortunes, and the empires they built. Amid the swirl of silk gowns and tailored suits, there was one man who stood taller than the rest. His name was Mr. Liang, a Chinese billionaire with a reputation for arrogance. As towering as his skyscrapers, he commanded attention everywhere he went, and people bowed their heads when he spoke, not out of respect, but out of fear of being the next target of his sharp tongue. That night, Mr. Liang's laughter rang across the ballroom like the clanging of metal. He was surrounded by his inner circle, men in midnight blue suits, women in shimmering jewelry, all eager to flatter him. But while their glasses sparkled with imported champagne, a quiet figure moved through the room unnoticed, a young black waiter, balancing a tray of wine bottles and crystal glasses with careful precision. His name was Daniel. He was tall, with shoulders that bore the weight of silent years, and eyes that revealed an intelligence unspoken. Few guests noticed him, and those who did regarded him only as another servant in uniform. Yet within him was a history and knowledge that no one in the ballroom could have imagined. As Daniel approached the head table with a tray of rare French wines, Mr. Liang's gaze fell upon him. The billionaire's lips curled into a smirk, as if he had discovered a new toy for his amusement. He leaned back in his chair and tapped the edge of his crystal glass, summoning the room's attention. The room quieted. A cruel anticipation filled the air, for everyone knew that Mr. Liang enjoyed humiliating those beneath him. It was his sport, his way of reminding the world that power flowed only one way, downward. Mr. Liang studied Daniel with the piercing gaze of a hunter, then began to mock him. His words, though spoken in Mandarin, carried a universal sneer. He imitated the waiter's movements, mimicked his posture, and exaggerated his presence as though Daniel were a clown for his entertainment. His circle erupted into laughter, sharp, cruel, and unrestrained. Other guests glanced away, unwilling to confront the billionaire's cruelty, yet ashamed at their own silence. The laughter grew louder, filling the grand ballroom with a chilling echo. Daniel stood still, his tray steady, his expression unreadable. Inside, however, the weight of years pressed against his chest, the weight of every moment someone had judged him, by his skin rather than his worth. Still, he did not flinch. As the laughter subsided into whispers, Daniel adjusted the tray in his hand and raised his head. His eyes met Mr. Liang's, not with defiance, but with a calmness that unsettled the billionaire. Then, in a voice that carried across the golden room, Daniel spoke. Not in English, not in French, but in flawless Mandarin. The ballroom froze. Wine glasses paused mid-air. Every head turned toward the black waiter, whose lips moved with the fluid rhythm of tones, whose voice carried not just words but mastery. His pronunciation was precise, his cadence elegant, his control absolute. Those who spoke Mandarin understood instantly. Daniel was not merely replying, he was correcting Mr. Liang's own mispronunciations with the calm authority of a teacher. And those who did not understand the language could feel the power. In the shift of the room, the billionaire's smile faltered. For the first time that evening, he was no longer in control. Whispers rippled across the ballroom. Who was this man? How could a hotel waiter, dressed in a plain uniform and carrying wine bottles, speak Mandarin better than many of them who had grown up with it? The aristocrats exchanged startled glances, their arrogance cracking into unease. Mr. Liang leaned forward, his pride stung. He tried to laugh it off, but the sound came hollow. His companions' faces shifted, some embarrassed, others curious, a few even impressed. For years, they had watched him mock and belittle those beneath him. But tonight the balance of power shifted in a way they had never seen before. Daniel continued, weaving words in Mandarin with ease, his tone respectful yet firm, his manner calm but commanding. He spoke not as a servant, but as an equal. No, greater than equal, for his knowledge cut deeper than Mr. Liang's wealth. And then the truth emerged. Daniel was not merely a waiter. He was a graduate of one of Beijing's most prestigious universities. fluent in multiple languages, who had once been offered a position at an international firm, before tragedy struck his family and forced him into work beneath his potential. He carried no bitterness in his voice, only dignity, and that dignity was sharper than any insult. The guests who once laughed now stared at Mr. Liang, waiting for his reaction. But the billionaire found himself unable to move, unable to laugh, unable to recover. For the first time in his gilded life, he was exposed, not by another tycoon, not by a politician, but by the very man he had dismissed as invisible. Silence settled over the ballroom. It was not the silence of boredom, but the silence of revelation. Those who once laughed at Daniel now lowered their eyes, ashamed. A few even felt admiration stir within them, an uncomfortable respect they had never granted. A man in a waiter's uniform. Daniel bowed his head slightly, placed the tray upon the table with perfect grace, and walked away without another word. He did not need applause. He did not need acknowledgement. His dignity was untouched, his worth unshaken, and his silence spoke louder than any response. But in that silence, something had shifted. The cruelty of mockery had been stripped bare, and the billionaire who once thought himself untouchable now sat in his golden chair with the bitter taste of humiliation. Later that night, whispers spread beyond the ballroom, across the city, and into circles of influence. People spoke not of Mr. Liang's arrogance, but of the black waiter who had silenced him with nothing but knowledge, fluency, and quiet strength. And though Daniel returned to his duties, to the quiet shadowed work of service, the world had seen a glimpse of the truth, that dignity, intellect, and humanity cannot be hidden beneath a uniform. They rise, always, when the world least expects it.